To modify the properties of the diagnosis checklist, click the cog icon. The first option you will be able to configure are the headings that will print out for the checklist as a whole, the heading that will print whenever you add a new diagnosis, the heading that will print whenever you discontinue or remove a diagnosis, the heading that will print whenever you update or note an existing diagnosis on the patient's chart, and finally, the checklist heading that will print in your follow-up notes for the patient's current or ongoing diagnoses. If you do not want to see one of these categories output in your note, check the Hide Output box to the right of that category. The End of List setting allows you to define the spacing that will precede this checklist. If you want the text that will follow this section to start on the next line, then use a \n. If you want the text that will follow this section to start in a new paragraph, then use a \r. Please remember to use lowercase letters when using these codes. Use the column setting to configure the number of columns your checklist will have. This can range from 1 to 4. Keep in mind that the more columns you have, the smaller area for the text description will be. The last settings are for the delimiters and conjunctions for each category. A delimiter is the punctuation or text that appears between each selected item in the checklist for a designated field. The most common delimiter is typically a comma. However, it could be a period, \r, or a \n. For example, if you want each statement to be its own sentence and print in a paragraph format, use a period in this field. If you want your information to be in a list format, use the \n or r in this field. A conjunction is the punctuation or text that will appear before the last selected item in the checklist for the designated field. Common conjunctions are either and or for paragraph formatted text, or the \n or r if you want a list format. When you are done configuring the properties for this checklist, click OK to close the dialog.